I'm Stella
And I'm Tarrant.
from Meeple University, and this is Marvel Age of Heroes from WizKids.
Yes.
Why am I excited about this game? It is from the same designer as the well-loved 2012 game Lords of Waterdeep. Remember how many times we played this near the start of our journey, and we played this many times, and it could be a long game. So I remember one time we played this so long at a meetup, they almost shut. We had to chuck everything from the table to the box, just like.
Indeed, yes. It's by one of the two designers of Lords of Waterdeep.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Rodney Thompson.
Yeah.
This is a
X-Men theme.
Yes.
Yeah, so this game has got similar feel to Lords of Waterdeep. So for those who like that, then this would feel like that, a different theme. So we're gonna give you an overview and then what we think of it.
Yes. So this is an X-Men game. I think Marvel these days people think Avengers, but eventually they'll think X-Men again. And
I do miss the X-Men movies, so come on 2025. I think it's 2025.
Yep. And X-Men was the comics that I grew up with. That was the one.
Hey, did you? So did I. Well, one of the comics that I grew up with.
These are the ones I know the best. So this is fundamentally a worker placement game. Each player has a pair of X-Men. So I've got the Southerners here, Gambit and Rogue. Depending on your player count, you'll have somewhere between 3 and 6 Meeples, which are these standees which show your X-Man.
Front and back.
And for the most part, they just behave as workers, but there'll be some effects, some upgrades that'll be specific to one of your particular X-Men. Then in turn order, you'll go back and forward making worker placement actions on anything showing an icon like this. The round kind of plays in two halves. In the first half, you place at the top of the board or onto the X-Jet. So if I place someone at the top of the board, I would take that action. If I place someone onto an X-Jet, this is just 6 workers who can be then placed in that order at the bottom of the board during the second half of the round. Ultimately, the aim is to get points, and a lot of your points will come from defeating the enemies. Although there are 3 different scenarios in the game, so exactly how they all work and how many points each thing is worth in each one is going to vary from scenario to scenario. The major ways to defeat these, there's essentially a contract of resources. So red, yellow and blue, which are physical attack, mental attack and willpower. You'll be trying to make combinations that correspond to the point scoring lines on these cards. And then when someone has gone on the X-Jet, you can go there, spend those resources and get the points. Once an enemy is gone, there's some additional bonuses. These will then be changed out for other enemy cards. And eventually the scenario and the end game is triggered by defeating the major enemy. So it could be a longer or a shorter game, depending on how long it takes the players to get there. Otherwise, the basic actions on the board are pretty straightforward. You've got actions here that let you gain resources, and you've got actions that let you draw cards, and you've got actions that let you play cards. The types of cards in the game, you've got ally cards. When you play an ally, it goes onto a space with this green icon. You mark it with your player color, and it's a new action space. And then if you can take it, do the effect. Here it would be getting a couple of these non-hero pawns that you can use in most of the spaces. If another player, I didn't give you Meeples for example, if another player took it, there we go, then I would get the benefits shown here. And so there's various different benefits there. These ones tend to be about building up your resources. Then there's team up cards, so you can have an effect that lets you play a team up card. These are other ways to defeat the enemy. So here instead, if I found one of the enemy's lines that had a psi on it, instead of paying the resources shown here, I could pay the resources on here and put my marker down on any one of these. There are event cards. once-off effects that you would resolve from this effect and then discard. And then you've got evolution cards, and these are personal engine building benefits for your X-Men. And these are the ones that apply to a specific X-Man, like I said before. Here, for example, right, this is a rogue one. I could play this here, and then after assigning rogue, I could draw a card. So these, you can build them up. They start to get expensive as you go along the board, but these give you some nice little engine building bonuses.
Is it raining?
I think it's raining.
Wow, I didn't expect it's going to be raining here anyways. I don't know if you can hear it. Keep going, Tarrant.
Now that's all they can hear. Now they know to listen for it.
Oh no, it's soothing, isn't it? Raindrops keep falling on my head. No, it's not. On the roof. All right, continue.
Well, that is pretty much it, actually. So you play those 4 types of cards. As that goes on, more and more action spaces are going to open up. More and more ways of defeating the enemies are going to open up. And many of these cards will have different point scoring means as well. So here, for example, if you've placed on this one, Banshee's the leader of Generation X, and at the end of the game, you would get end of the round, you would get 6 points for every Meeple you placed on a Generation X card. So this one's an X-Man, but there'll be some of these which belong to different factions, and so you can start to level up your points in those ways as well. As mentioned, there's 3 different scenarios, so it doesn't just mean different enemies. This is the first scenario I've set up, and there's a lot of different enemies that you can shuffle in as well, so plenty of difference from game to game. The game will start to escalate, so we've got this generic extraction zone space here, and from round to round, or after every 3 rounds, these will start to level up to more powerful abilities. At the end of the game, it just gives you this easy way of getting resources or points, and it's really going to drive the end game. I think that really covers it.
I love it. Sorry, I was like waiting for it. Like, so I love Lords of Waterdeep. It feels a little bit. You can see that some of the mechanics probably slightly old. Like you can see the more modern games is quite different at times. It's not a bad thing. It just is. I love Lords of Waterdeep. I love worker placement, and this is similar. It feels similar to Lords of Waterdeep, where at the start there are only certain spaces that you can go to, but as the game goes, you can play cards where people can go to as spaces. In Lords of Waterdeep, it's the buildings, and you can start going there. It benefits other players, so that's very similar.
Yep, you start getting rewards when players use your buildings.
Yes.
And before the buildings are there, there's only really one way to get each resource.
Yeah.
So that feels very, very similar.
Yep. So at the start, like, oh no, where else I can go? But then towards the end, oh, there's this and this and this. And you go to complete missions in Lords of Waterdeep, where here you still need the resources, but you go and fight enemies. Yeah. So very similar. Now, there's something that is, I think this is a bit more than Lords of Waterdeep, which is the synergy, the combo. So first you play these 2, and then each player board has got different sides, and then different characters, 2 characters you can play with. And then the cards that you play, you try to find the right, or I wouldn't say broken combo, but it's almost like you're trying to find a broken combo that will give you lots of resources, lots of points. But then again, it's not so much as broken because other people can have access to those as well.
Yeah, I got a very Whistle Mountain feel when I played this game, because that's something I thought always tended to come out in Whistle Mountain. Very different type of game, but as the tiles are placed in Whistle Mountain, they set up these little combo sets that you can just kind of work and score heaps of points on while it's there.
Yeah.
This has a bit of that vibe. Gambit has a power that, this one here, after you assign Gambit and play an event card, you get 4 points. So you just use your Gambit meeples to play lots of events. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like with 2 players, it could be a tad longer. With 2 players. It also depends on the enemies and how it turns out and so on. Yep. But if in a higher player count, you only have, as you mentioned earlier, a less number of meeples. So your actions are quite more restricted, more limited. You get less points. And, it just feels different in a way.
Yeah, I would say the two biggest differences between this game and Lords of Waterdeep, as I say, the gaining of resources and the way this works, very, very similar, with the exception that I feel like you've got more meeples than spaces to start, whereas that was less the case in Waterdeep. The major difference is that instead of going and getting the mission card and then resolving it from your hand, they're all out here on the board and it's all first come, first serve. And it makes your choice of placement here on the XJet quite important. And there's also some events and powers up here that let you jump straight to placing something here and bypassing this queue. And that using those at the right time becomes very important as well. And it was, it's deceptive, but that timing and placement thing, sometimes it feels really straightforward. The powerful stuff gets used up quickly, and then the turn order space gets used up. But there ends up being lots of different ways to manage that. I will say the first 4 rounds, it felt like Russian railroads, where there were like 2 obvious first things everyone took, and then someone took the turn order thing to make sure they got it next time. But it really started to open up as the game went on.
Correct, especially these ones, right? At the start, I really want to upgrade. I really need to be first player because I want to do this one. There's only one space there. But then, there are other cards that let you do that too. So.
Also, there's heaps of options for these cards as well. There's a recommended set for your first play, but each X-Man has a number of different powers, and you can play with those combos as well.
These cards sometimes I feel like a little bit stale. I don't know. At times it's like, it's the cards that no one wants, and it just stays there.
That's true. There's a couple of reset mechanisms. You always have to add a new card to there for someone else to get before you pick up. But yeah, there's an opportunity there on most of them.
Yeah, but overall it is yes for me. And get ready for, it's like 2 hours, 3 hours. It's a tad longer than for a simple rules. Maybe could be a tad longer again in a lower player counts than the high player counts. I mean, when I say a tad longer, then your game is like long and you can just build your engine, which is actually, if you like engine building, that would be a good thing. Yep. But yes, so just watch out for that. And overall, it's for me.
Yeah, overall, I think it's quite a fun game. I don't think it is.
You're really good at comboing your actions together. Like, okay, you go there, and then you can fight the bosses and the enemies, and then at the same time getting points because your other meeples are on certain locations.
Yep. The first time we played, I also I was in the box seat and then lost by 30 points just on one bad meeple placement as well, because I completely wrecked my turn order in the XJet.
Yeah, towards the end, you kind of like want to rush to XJet. Okay, I've got the resources. I need to go there first, and then four resources towards the end. Great compared to Tuesday. You can see that 4, 3, and 2. So blue usually tend to be the hardest one to get. I think in Lords of Waterdeep, certain resources is a bit harder to get as well.
Yeah, I think overall what I would say for this game is it's definitely a lot of fun. It's a bit of a light kind of random. It's got a lot more chaos, I think, in it than your typical worker placement because of that. Because the cards are going to mix things up so much, and it's quite a big deck of cards. It has a little bit of chaos. It feels done. So, we made so many references to Lords of Waterdeep. That's a 10-year-old game, 11-year-old game that there's not that many games coming out like it because it's a basic worker placement game. It doesn't have twists and turns. It's kind of something that's been done to put it in a blunt way.
But there's the combo though. The combo was not really present that much in Lords of Waterdeep. So there's a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, the combos are different. Like, how do you make the old games? I mean, have you played Lords of Waterdeep? Please let us know. If you haven't, that's okay. It's a worker placement game, recommended as well. But this is just more the combo that you can try to achieve to gain you even more resources or even more points.
Yeah, I think what I'd say for it is that Yeah, that was sounding quite negative. What I'm saying is there's nothing
Okay.
new. There's nothing new necessarily.
Yeah.
It's a basic worker placement, but there's enough fun stuff going on here that can let you play in a number of different ways, and I think that makes it really work quite well as a game. I think that really makes it the sort of game that should be really replayable. If I think back to if I were in my teens and I were playing worker placements at the time, I think this would have a lot more staying power than Lords of Waterdeep, because I think the combos and the differences that would start to come out here would be a lot more varied from game to game.
Very varied, yeah. Lots of replayabilities and
that's not even taking into account the fact that there's 3 scenarios and they
Yes.
add different cards to the deck and different ways for ends to trigger. So this is the sort of thing where if you're not the sort of people who are going through games 1 or 2 plays and passing them on, this could have real staying power. And if you like the X-Men, then it's got all the characters there. Of course, phase 5 or 6 or whatever is going to bring the X-Men back. So, maybe there's a big market for it coming in a couple of years.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. Or if you play this, if you look it up.
It plays up to 5.
Thank you. Plays up to 5. And it is one that I think is worth keeping. That's what I think.
Yeah. One thing I will say that is a small challenge for the game is that because there are a lot of cards, there is a bit of ambiguity and confusion sometimes between how they work. There's a lot of cards that let you do the effect of another card, and the card will say this card and that card, and sometimes it can be a little ambiguous exactly what the card is going to mean, more so than I would usually like to see. So I think that's probably a little bit of a downside. Again, with repeated plays, you'll either work it out or you'll work out your own house rule of exactly how you want to do it. It doesn't detract from the game as long as you get to a point where you know how they work. We'll also just quickly show you who the playable sets are.
Ooh.
So we've got Gambit and Rogue, Jean Grey and Cyclops. We've got Forge and Storm.
It's a duo, yep.
Yep. Forge and Storm, and interestingly, they're not always even sets. This one has 4 Storm Meeples and 2 of Forge.
Yes.
We've got Magic. It's just Magic.
It's very powerful. It'd be like equivalent for maybe Captain Marvel, maybe. I don't know.
Kitty Pryde with Lockheed.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone's favourite duo, Jubilee.
Oh, yes. Everyone's favourite. Is it your favourite as well? That's also.
I don't know.
Yes,
Maybe they're not
actually
everyone's
true.
favourite, but they were a fun combo.
I know. What?
Jubilee always chilled Wolverine out a bit.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
That's it.
There we go.
So, if you've enjoyed this somehow, please let us know. Please say something in the comments. Please let us know that you are there. If you have any questions and suggestions and anything you want to say about this game or Lords of Waterdeep, please let us know. I'm looking forward for it. And if you haven't subscribed to us, please do if you like. And hit the bell. We have live playthrough almost every weekend, so hopefully we'll see you there as well. And I'm on Instagram. And that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.